grew up with this constant negativity, nothing you do is right, extremely low self-worth. Maybe it started as a survival response, but I always had this mentality of one more day. My dad, at 5 years old, came into my bedroom one night and held a pillow over my face. I got to the point where I was so convinced he was going to come and kill me because he'd told me for my whole life.
Jessica Ella, the founder of the four-pillared healing modality, Aruka Therapy. She has worked with thousands of women around the globe to heal their trauma, find freedom, power, and love.
I get tears even just saying it because I'm feeling like, holy fuck, there's someone who is a living example of what's possible.
My mantra for all those really hard years was be the example. And I always say to people, the best place to be is not knowing who the fuck you are, because you get to create who you want to be. It's hard to face yourself. It's hard to do that work. So I clap and condone anyone that actually does it, because it is really brave to go in. I don't fuck around. If someone comes to me and they're like, I've got all these problems, I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to show you how it actually works. In session 1, I say to the haters on the thing, just try it. Just do one session. I dare you.
If you were to speak to his soul, what would you say? Welcome back to the Inspired Life podcast, where we interview inspiring individuals making meaningful change in the world. And I feel like I've met the woman version of myself for this conversation. We have Jessica Ella, the founder of the four-pillared healing modality, Aruka Therapy. Jessica has worked with thousands of women around the globe to heal their trauma, find freedom, power, and love. And she celebrated her birthday yesterday as well.
I did.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
How are you today, and how are you feeling about the podcast today?
I'm good. I'm feeling really excited. I said the exact same thing to my partner. I was like, this is the male version of me.
Perfect. Well, if not, someone's never heard of you before, it's the first time being introduced to you.
Yeah.
Who is Jessica Ella?
It's such a hard thing to explain. Yeah. I guess I'm a mum first.
Love.
Yep. I'm a mum to 2 boys, and I've always really tried to focus on being a mum first and, building my empire second, because, having a good childhood for them is really important for me as somebody who didn't have a good childhood. So yeah, Jessica Ella, I'm a mum first. Yeah. I've always been business obsessed. This is my 4th business, but healing was always my passion and my obsession for about 15 years. Never ever did I think that it would actually be a career. It was always just because the healing industry wasn't really a career 15 years ago. So it was this is my passion and my obsession, and I'm just going to read every book I know and study it. But I was a wedding planner. Actually, I had a wedding and events
I didn't know that.
business. Yeah. Okay. And before that, my first business 15 years ago was in raw treats, and I actually was one of the first wholesalers of matcha.
There you go.
So I've always sort of been in that mindset, health and wellness and things. But yeah, healing was never, therapy was never the goal.
Yeah. I've been binging your content the last couple of weeks, and there's just so much alignment with myself and how I view the world and the mission I'm on and the impact I'm here to make. And your story is, we won't maybe not talk about the story of the entire podcast, because you've shared it quite in detail before, but I was blown away when I heard it. I got emotional listening to your story, because you're such a embodiment of the work, and then you're such an example of what is possible. So if you're okay sharing,
Thank you.
What's some of your story?
I love that you say that.
Yeah, no, it's I get tears even just saying it, because I'm feeling like, holy fuck, there's someone who is a living example of what's possible. Because you're I believe pain is purpose. I believe wounds are wisdom once you've healed. I say openly, trauma is a gift once you process it, once you heal it, once you open the gift, right? So, and I just see you as that fucking example of what's possible. So
thank you. I've got goosebumps, because literally my mantra for all those really hard years was be the example.
Love
literally those exact words was how do I get more and more happy and healed and full of love and free, and model that to people that it's possible. And every time there was a setback, it was no, we're going to keep going, because, and that was what got me through.
Yeah.
So I guess in a nutshell, because as you said, I don't want to harp on about it and focus on it, but I guess the kind of key things, I've experienced nearly every single category or type of trauma that you can imagine, but probably the biggest main ones would be I was molested by my biological father all throughout my childhood, so hundreds of times, and was raped by him when I was a teenager. But I was also, he was raised in a very toxic way. So I lost my virginity to his father, my grandfather, when I was 7 years old, extremely brutally. But he was just a really awful man as well. So when I was with him, my parents were divorced. When I was with him, he was critical. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't eat. Everything I said was wrong. Yeah. So I grew up with this kind of just constant putting you down, constant negativity. Nothing you do is right. Extremely low self-worth. physical abuse, like I'm permanently deaf in my left ear. He hit me so hard that it burst my eardrum, but also damaged all the nerves. So just, physical, verbal, sexual, psychological. He would do things to just like mess with my head, like give my siblings gifts in front of me, to open in front of me so that, to know that I was not as important, and just really like, but he was raised in that way, which generational trauma, whole other subject. But yeah, so the main things was that kind of sexual abuse, verbal abuse, psychological abuse, being raped by my grandfather. And then probably the worst of the worst was that the two of them, I've always been a speaker. I've always been brave. And even if every cell in my body says, don't say that, I'm like, oh, I just said it. And so I spoke up when I was always threatened. They would always say to me, if you tell anyone, we'll kill you. This is where we'll bury you, in the backyard. There was a lot of threats. My dad, at 5 years old, came into my bedroom one night and held a pillow over my face until I could stop breathing, and then would let me breathe, hold it over again. And he'd just keep reminding me, this is where I'll bury you. And it was he's a very sadistic man, as was his father. And so, but I told a friend anyway. They found out, and then they tortured me. So there was probably the worst of the worst was a day where the two of them got together and like just did things that I haven't even said out loud, because it's just so, it's like a living nightmare pretty much. So that was the worst of the worst in that memory, which I've now processed. But in that memory, I literally, it took me to a level actually of like the work that I hadn't even experienced with other people, where I actually fragmented like my sense of self, which is where this like DID or multiple personalities comes into play. Yeah. I actually fragmented into multiple versions of myself to cope with that. So I didn't even have the memory was like in snippets across these different versions of myself, which I like partly processed through like IFS and other things. But yeah, that was like that memory really showed me what the human like mind has to do in certain situations to that degree. Yeah. So that's probably, and then like because of all of that, I was like a weird nervous child. I was always like, I had these like strange tics, and I was always like licking and drying my lip, and I had this rash. So I was getting bullied at school, and I had no friends. And I was like at school being bullied every single day, at home when I was with my dad being abused. My mum is beautiful. She's probably a really big part of why I am the way that I am, because although she's quite checked out and she was like not super, she's got her own stuff, she is a constant source of love. She was like the unconditional love. Like there's nothing I could do that could make her not love me. So when I was raging teenager and I was angry and I had all these emotions I couldn't deal with, she was just always that unconditional love. So yeah, that's like, I'm sure, like, I mean, that manifested for me into, I was holding all of this down. And, if you think about what your law of attraction, or if you think about what you're attracting, and you think about like the experiences that you're used to, I ended up in abusive relationships and like terrible friendships, and so many circumstances that I shouldn't have been in when I was a teenager. I ended up getting Lyme disease when I was
what's Lyme disease?
In my late 20s. I got bitten by a tick.
Okay.
So it's like I got neurological Lyme, so like I couldn't move my arms. Wow. But again, looking back, like the symptoms that I was feeling were very similar to the symptoms of the trauma that I was holding. Yeah. So it was showing up in it. It was almost like showing me what was there to be healed still. So yeah, that's a nutshell.
Yeah, that's a nutshell. And how are you, like, I know you can zoom in wherever you want to. Like, how are you the woman you are today? Because you, like, if I didn't do my research for this conversation, I wouldn't know that about you. Like the way you speak, the way you glow, the way you smile, your energy, the work you're doing. It's like, I think people that get into this world have their own hurt at some degree, but like that yours is one of the most inspiring stories I've heard. How have you gone from that and you're still the gift you are? Like, what's that journey been like?
I think I wasn't always like this. Like it did take a lot of hard work, although there are some people that have been in my life that were like, you've always had this spark in you. And I think I was just born with it. Like I honestly feel like I've always had this mentality that I adapted, and maybe it started as a survival response, but I always had this mentality of one more day. Yeah. So like today was a really bad day, we got abused, whatever happened, but tomorrow will be better. And I just have this like eternal hope. And I don't know where it comes from. So it's one of those things that like it's really difficult for people with complex trauma or people with similar histories to mine if they don't have it, because it's like they give up. And that's not to say that there haven't been times where I've been like, I can't do this. The suicidal thoughts were constant, but there was always this like, nope. It sounds so corny, but there was always this thing of like, no, you're made for something bigger. You're actually made for something big. Like you've just got to keep going. You've just got to get through. And then when I had kids, it was like, you've got to be the best mum you can be. You've got to. So for a long time, it was actually for other people. Yeah. It was actually like, you can't do that to your family. You can't do this. So you've got to keep going. You've got to be. And I actually started the work because of my ex-husband.
Okay.
It's actually funny because like he's my ex-husband now, but it's funny because he had said to me very early on in our relationship, this is like I'm 20 years old and this is how I got into the work, because he said to me, if you don't stop being so needy, I'm going to break up with you. And I was like, I didn't know I was needy. Like I'm going to need to like go and work on myself. Where do I start? And so I picked up Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life.
Love it.
And that was like my entry level into the world. Yeah. And it was like beliefs and subconscious and like this whole world opened up, and I ended up going and having a healing session that my mum booked for me.
Okay.
And then that sort of just sent me on this.
Can you just define healing session? That's quite broad.
Yeah, so I had a theta healing session.
Okay.
So
I haven't tried that. So
you haven't?
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, so it's kind of it's energy and belief, subconscious belief work. So it's blending basically those two things together. So they're putting you into a relaxed brainwave, like similar to hypnosis. And then, but there is like a more woo-woo element to it. So like they're very intuitive. They pick up on things the way that they guide the session. Yeah. And yeah, it was basically uncovering subconscious beliefs and shifting subconscious beliefs. And I had never, I was such a skeptic. Yeah. Like I'm such a logical person that I walked in and was like, oh my gosh, like this lady looks insane. She has a Magic Happens sticker on the back of her car. Love it. And to me, that was like, that's my mum's friends that are like not on this planet. I was so judgmental. And I went in and 2 days later, the things that I'd worked on, I just was like, where did that go? Mm-hmm. Why am I thinking so differently?
What do you mean?
What's
where
happening?
Did that go? Those thoughts had
like,
gone?
I'd had like a lot of beef with my stepdad, and I was like, I hate him and I'll never forgive him. Yeah. And he obviously wasn't the problem, but he was a small part of the problem. Yeah. And 2 days later, I was like, he just is the way he is, and I love him, and he's not that bad, and I forgive him, and gave him a hug, and my relationship's been amazing with him ever since. Yeah. And so things that I was just like, but how? But how? Like I know that something's happened, but how did it happen? And it became my literal obsession. Like just every book I could read, I went and studied theta. That was the first thing that I studied. And then I studied hypnotherapy, NLP. Like I just went on this mission to be like, how does it work? Because once I did one, I did theta healing, and I was like, well, what? But what's creator? What's it made of? What are we traveling up through? Why is everybody who is dying and coming back to life saying that they're going through this same channel, and what is that channel? Like I just questioned everything. And that became the obsession. And then literally I didn't realize until sort of I started having a lot of like the flashbacks. I was always having flashbacks, but until it got more intense, it was like I didn't even know that I was obsessed with it because I was trying to heal myself. Yeah. I just thought it was my own little passion, which it still is. Yeah.
What were some of the breadcrumbs of like processes that really shifted? Because my journey, I started with Tony Robbins. I say he's the gateway drug to self-development. And I did his UPW. So he does like a limiting belief process at his event. I was like, this is insane. Like I see the world differently right now. Then I got into NLP, then hypnotherapy, then timeline therapy, then breath work, then DeMartini, then plant medicines. And like the world, the Pandora's box was open for me. And I found I'll try it myself to see like my lived experience, like, is this game changing for me? And if it's like reality shattering, I'll then, if I'm aligned with like the technique and the modality, I'll get trained in it. I'll do a certification in it and I'll add it to my toolbox. What were like some of the ones that really like shaped you? Because I want people to understand the the uniqueness of who you are, because I'd say, like you said, theta probably comes into the work that you do. Probably subconscious work comes into it. Were there other pieces that really like, wow, this is game changing for me?
Yeah. So similar to you, if I tried something and it worked, I'd study it.
Yeah, perfect.
So there was some that I studied that I did and I was like, that did nothing. Yeah. So I wouldn't study them. I won't mention what they are. Yeah. But yeah, theta healing was the first one. Then hypnotherapy was the next one. Then NLP. Yeah. And then breathwork was later on down the track, but nervous system as well. Yeah. There was like a nervous system healing certification, and that was a really missing piece for me, especially like with implicit memory. And so I think what else did I do? Tapping, like EFT, TFT, reconnective healing was a really powerful one. Dr. Eric Pearl, so he's a chiropractor who started like before he would place his hands on people, they would have these like spontaneous, it's kind of like spinal flow, spinal everything now. Yeah. But this is like back in, I want to say like the 80s or 70s. Okay. So he would like place his hands and people would say words and things would come out of them and they'd move, and he was like, what the hell is happening? And he was like actually a skeptic. And so he started to go down that rabbit hole. And I love his energy work because his whole thing is about like getting out of the way, and how we teach all these techniques of like you place your hand like this and you do like this and this. And he's like, it's not that. It's the intention. Yes. And the intention that the energy is shifting and you watching and being the observer of it is what shifts it. And so that was a really pivotal one for me in integrating energy work into everything that I did, because some of the other ones were a bit more, they didn't make sense to me. I was like, but how does that's not quite right. Yeah. So reconnective healing was a really good one. It's hard to remember. It's been like, over
the journey, hey?
Yeah. Nervous system. I did energetics of trauma. I did like a couple of like the 2-day trainings with Bessel van der Kolk as well.
Oh, cool. Well, he's coming to Brisbane soon, I think.
Yeah. So I think he does the same one, because I went twice and it was like pretty much the same both times. But so I did some stuff with Bessel van der Kolk because his book, like I read that twice and like that was incredible. Yeah. Breath work, somatics. What else? I feel like that's most of the mind stuff. And then I haven't studied IFS, but I've had probably like 40 IFS sessions myself and have like deep dived into how that works and trying to understand that.
I haven't clicked it together enough. I've like tasted it. Like I tasted it. A mentor took me through it, Internal Family Systems. Yeah. Richard Swartz, I think. Yeah. And it's like, it shifted me, but it wasn't like, it's like this part of you.
It's not groundbreaking.
Yeah. It wasn't groundbreaking for me, but I've people that I've heard that have gone into it, like they rave about it. So it's kind of like I've got like a vision board of ones I'll add to the toolkit at some point. Yeah. Psych K, I've heard of Psych K is really powerful if you tried that. It's like really supposedly like really effective ways to rewire. Yeah. And I think Bruce Lipton talks about literally in his books. He says, go do it, go try it. Yeah. IFS is in there. Some form of energy healing, maybe Aruka stuff, because I'm about to dive into what that is now. Yeah. We said it before we started recording, there's no ultimate martial art, only the ultimate martial artist who knows every martial art and uses the right one at the right time to get the right result.
Absolutely.
And I find similar to our journeys, it's like, let's go become the ultimate martial artist in the work that we do when it comes to healing or transformation or whatever you want to call it. How is that now pieced together, Aruka? Like, what is Aruka therapy? What is it? Explain it to us. How did it piece together? Yeah. And what does it do for people?
Yeah. Oh, we're so aligned on that, because I think like a lot of the certifications are promised to be like the whole solution, whereas they're only like one element. And
one piece of it, yeah.
I kind of broke it down into like 4 pillars, but it's really difficult because those 4 pillars are all very much interconnected. Yeah. So the 4 pillars are working with the energetics or the energy, working with the subconscious mind, be the beliefs, working with somatics as in the body and the nervous system, and working with actually processing memories. So the thing here is that my personal belief is that in order to actually correctly process the memory, you have to somatically, the body has to be involved, words have to be involved, movement has to be involved. And we actually have to witness that at an energetic level for it to, and the power of being witnessed by somebody else is just, there's just nothing like it. I know that personally too, because I've tried to do a lot of work on myself and it's never like hits quite the same as having someone guide you, but it's bringing all of those things together. So like processing a memory, for me, a memory is not processed until you actually also uncover what are the subconscious beliefs that they created in that moment that about themselves that they're still going to carry, because like EMDR are great, but you're processing a visual memory. But actually, depending on the therapist, but traditional just EMDR on its own, the somatics isn't being involved. The body's not being involved.
Sorry to cut you off. Can you zoom in? Because I haven't tried EMDR. Again, heard incredible things. Yeah. My outsider perspective on it is they're removing the emotional charge to a memory.
Yes.
Is that a fair way to say that?
Yeah, by eye movement, which is basically stimulating the vagus nerve, regulating the nervous system whilst recalling the memory.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's kind of like desensitizing yourself to the memory.
Yeah,
but
using the nervous system and using vagus nerve stimulation. Yeah. Very simple, but and effective in processing the visual component of the memory.
Yes.
But a lot of those people they'll still wake up with anxiety. They'll still have like their nervous system is still dysregulated just because they've processed the visual memory. And if in that moment that they process, they decided that they're a worthless piece of shit, they're still going to feel like a worthless piece of shit, even though they're not. Still there. Yeah, the belief's still there. They're not having flashbacks, which for people with a lot of trauma, that's a huge relief.
Great
so that's why that's why it's such a powerful modality, because the visual memory is processed and you're not having like it drop into your mind constantly like an intrusive thought. But at an identity level, you're still the same person. At an identity level, you don't have new experiences to counter that, and you still have the same subconscious beliefs. And again, if I tie energetics into that, we're stimulating the vagus nerve and we're overriding the visual aspect of the memory, but energetically, the person could still be holding on to that emotionally. Like I could process a memory using EMDR with somebody and they could have zero emotions. They could have no emotion come out. And this is where the somatics or something like a breath work would come into play, where we're actually going to bring those emotions to the surface, because someone who's chronically dissociated can process a memory visually without the emotions, but they're still carrying the emotions. So the energetics, the somatics, tying that in together means that in a session, we're visually processing the memory, and a lot of the time that means working with the inner child or the younger version of themselves.
Yep. Just quickly, if you're enjoying this conversation, if you could take 2 seconds to leave a comment, like the video and subscribe, it honestly means so much. The bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests get, and you are very much a part of our journey to grow this channel. Thank you.
But we're also figuring out what the subconscious beliefs are that they created. We're shifting those, and we're using energy work to shift those. So we're not just using techniques for the brain, because the brain wants to hear and know certain things. The body needs to say those things because it's all good and well for me to visualize it. But if I'm not saying it out loud, it's not the same effect. It's not somatically like leaving my body. Words have so much power energetically and physically. So then we're also getting them to do those things to verbalize it, and we're also watching it leave them. So I'm in a theta brainwave as well, and I am watching that belief and witnessing that belief leaving that person. So it's tying it all in together. It's
the ultimate martial artist. It's like seeing it and a master do their work. And I'd like to know what's going through your mind. Is it like a channeling experience? Are you just in like my wife's a sound healer. There's another modality to throw into the mix. Like she does, I've got a horrible voice, but she's got like an angelic opera voice, and she does the sound bowls. And it's like, I ask her the question, like, what are you doing? Like, what do you think about when you're doing your thing? She's like, I'm just like channeling. Like I'm not even conscious. I'm just, it's coming through me, because she like sings in tongue. Like it's not a language what she's saying. She's just like making these things. And we do sessions with, we had this client. He's been blind in his eye his entire life, and he's never been able to cry out of that eye. He cried during the sound session. Like it just came through him, and like I was crying listening to it. I'm like, oh my God, that was so beautiful. So what's going on for you when you're like in flow, when you're doing your thing? Are you like, hey, I can hear this belief, I'm going to lean into that. I can feel something, let's tune into that. Like what's going through?
I've learned to switch it off and channel it, because like it was almost impossible to exist as a human being in the world with those skills, because I would just pick it up everywhere. So actually one of my best friends says to me, like, she's like, I need healer, Jess. And she's like, you're a different person when you're doing a podcast, or when you sit down and do a healing, you speak different, you act like you're not you. And my partner was just saying that yesterday too. It's like a different version of me comes through, and I tap out, and I think of myself like a private detective. I literally think, okay, what needs to be uncovered here? I'm tapping into intuition, but I'm also like, I'm listening to every word they say. I am watching every single part of their body. I'm noticing where they're tensing when they're saying certain things. When they're saying something's fine, I can feel that it's not fine. I'm feeling their energy. I'm reading their energy. I'm reading their body. I'm listening to their words, and I am not me. And the benefit of that as well is that when I leave the session and I'm me again, I'm not carrying it. But I'm tapping into, I'm connecting myself into universe, creator, whatever you want to call it, the field. And it's not me that's doing the healing. It's I'm getting information being sent to me, and I'm tapping into information that to be honest, when I'm sitting there talking to somebody, what I get from them in a beta brainwave when they're just thinking and speaking and acting versus when I put them into a beta brainwave, sorry.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
When they're in a beta brainwave versus when I'm putting them into a theta brainwave and they're relaxed and they're going into the same, and we're in heart coherence and I'm actually tapped in, what comes out of their mouth is completely different to what comes out when they first had
the
a
ego
chat.
switched off and it's just like whatever's there comes up. Right?
Yeah, the truth beyond their truth, whatever their truth is, actually starts to come out. And because I'm not in me, I don't have a bias of what I think they're going to say. I'm just listening for their truth. Yeah. So I'm not actually, I don't know where the session's going to go. And I would be stupid to try and figure it out because every single person is different. And like you said, this is where that has to be taught because like NLP, love NLP, great, fantastic, amazing, super, super like great modality. Same as hypnotherapy. But if I have to follow a script and somebody is going off the script, there's no solution for that person. Whereas the way that I like to teach Aruka is the core, like those core 4 pillars and a number of different tools. Like you said with the martial artist, like those number of different tools that it's like if someone's resisting in this moment, take them down this path. And if someone feels blocked here, this is what you do to help them to uncover it. And like there's it's intuitive and it has to be taught in that way because scripts are great for the masses maybe, but as soon as you start getting into more complex trauma or people that are just a little bit more complex, which I mean, most people, it's just not enough. And so to actually get that deep lasting change, you have to adapt to the person.
I really quote that. I don't know who said it. You actually might know the answer. To the degree you resist reality is the degree that you suffer. So anything that's not life-threatening is just ego-threatening.
Yep.
So what I'm hearing, this is my experience anyways, I just kind of felt a bit of that when you were doing it, is when I'm coaching someone, I'm listening and feeling for resistance. So it's like you got some resistance here, whether it's like stress or anxiety or some belief or whatever. It's like, let's be curious, not furious. Let's lean into that. And then what tool do we need to pull out at the right time? A bit of breath, you're in the head a bit. Let's breathe and get out of the ego into the truth, whatever it is. Maybe there's some energetic kink here and we need to dissolve that. I don't do energy work necessarily, but that's
you probably do, but
I did
because you've really researched it, so you're probably doing it anyway.
I done top down approach when I started. I did the NLP, the Tony Robbins, hypnotherapy, timeline therapy, all this stuff. And I was getting some good results for myself, but it's like I'd heard of these things. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? Like tell me more about this. I need to understand this. It wasn't making sense to me. And I went to my mentor at the time. I said, hey man, like who do you know that's into the energy stuff, like energy healing? Like who's the best that you know? And it was a woman on the Gold Coast, Jessica Ann, if you've heard of her name. She's a Reiki healer. I still couldn't tell you what Reiki healing is, but I just said, hey, look, can I do 6 months with you? 10 grand, let's go. Give me 6 months. Let's see what it's like. And she'd just do work and I'd be laying down on the floor at her house and she'd like close your eyes and I don't know what the fuck she was doing, but I'm assuming she was putting her hands over my body and like she'd go to like my knee, to my shoulder, to my hip, to my thing. She's like, what happened to you when you were 6? Just say it. Oh, like say something. I'm like, I don't know. And I just said something. She's like, what's the make the sound of this? And I just like make this weird sound. She's like, what's the emotion? Feel it now. And then something happened. My whole body starts like vibrating. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And I felt an incredible shift, but it wasn't like I want to then sort of get certified in it. It wasn't my style of modality necessarily, but from again, like what I was hearing, it's like you're energetically, mentally, emotionally, intuitively feeling resistance, then leaning into it with the right tools and the right awareness and the right nervous system to dissolve said resistance to like what you said, actually, you said it subtly, is the body heals itself. Like for me, I don't heal anyone. I just, you can't give someone access to something they don't already have within them. Like Joe Dispenza says, it's like you don't need the best pharmacy of chemicals is within you. You don't need anything external, right?
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm really going with this, but,
but I love it. I love that. I was when you were saying that, I was thinking she's using energy and somatics because she's using the energy to read you, and then she's picking up on those areas, and then she's asking you somatically, like what's happening there. Say the words, make the sounds, and that's where a lot of people can shift energy. And you just lay there and you think, what the fuck did they just do? Like they don't speak a word and they're just moving energy, which is great. But like she's actually moving energy and finding, there's some here, what's happening? And then she's allowing you to bring it up, but she's getting you to somatically release it with the sounds. So like she's actually doing both at the same time. So that's the 2 pillars, I guess, and I guess that's where if it was like a really intense trauma, it might bring it up and you might make the sounds, but you still might have the flashbacks or you still might have the subconscious beliefs. So that's where like those two other sort of pillars come into it where you would want to shift those as well.
I love it.
Yeah.
I've got, I want to hear your thoughts on this. So the model I teach is the 5 bodies. So you've got the mental body, which would be beliefs, unconscious beliefs, perceptions, anything mentally speaking. You've got the emotional body, so your nervous system, suppressed emotions, unclosed loops of emotions. The somatic or physical body, which is like the issues are in the tissues. The spiritual body, which is like your soul's trauma, or like not shaman, ayahuasca, think about it. And then the energy body, which is like your work with energy centers, biofields and all that stuff. That's how my mind understands it. Would you agree, disagree with that? Because I'd love to know what your thoughts are.
It's so hard because my mind is like, well, the physical body is made up of energy.
Yeah, the energy like encapsulates all of it.
Yeah, and the soul is like, if you think about it, like the soul is part of the field, and so the soul is energetic as well if it's part of the field. And if the physical, even like the emotional body, like emotions are just energy in motion. So that's energy as well. And I always like try to categorize it and I'm like, they're all the same. Yeah. The nervous system and like the tissues and everything is made up of energy. So I feel like for me, I always come back to like the base is energy, which is what we're reading and feeling. But are we actually fixing or processing the energy that makes up the visual images in the mind? And therefore, you know, altering the chemical state, because if you're not having flashbacks all the time, you're not putting yourself in fight or flight, and you're not flooding yourself with cortisol. And so they're all same and different. Like even literally physical body, mental body, soul body. I just see them all together. Yeah.
Have you done any spiritual stuff like plant medicine, ceremonial practices?
Yeah, I have. It was actually kind of a funny story. Okay. I had done like a lot of healing work. It was probably like 5 years ago. So I was like 10 years in and I was like, ego ass. Yeah. I was like, I'm good. I'm going to go to this retreat. And it was drinking a stupid amount of magic mushrooms in cacao, in a ceremonial dose of cacao. Yeah, it's like a double whammy. And we were to drink it and then do breath work.
Wow. Who came up with that?
Someone who is like pure evil because I went in like thinking this is going to be a magical experience and I'm going to like fly through galaxies, and every other person there flew through galaxies and I got stuck and trapped in a fucked up memory and I couldn't open my eyes.
Shit would just come up.
Yeah, the worst. Like I got trapped in this memory that I'd forgot about and I was like screaming and I felt like I couldn't open my eyes. It felt like they were locked shut. But in saying that, there was, after that terrible experience, I went to sleep that night and obviously, like they said, the medicine is still working, and I had dreams, and in my dreams, I had these messages, like just these words that just kept dropping in so loud that when I woke up, I wrote them down, and they were actually the catalyst for me uncovering things that ended my marriage and so it was like things that I knew but that I didn't know that I knew. Yeah. And it was like my higher self was just telling me so loudly. Oh. So that was a really powerful experience. And I've done a few different experiences with mushrooms. Yeah. Haven't done ayahuasca. Yeah. They say it calls your name and it's not calling my name.
I do mushrooms. I used to do every quarter. Then it was like every 6 months. Now it's like every 12 months or so, just to like do a reset. Realign whatever's in there, bring it out. Let's confront it. Let's process it. I done ayahuasca once, and for me, like I didn't have the best experience. You know what harpe is? Have you had that before? They thing up the nose. They shove this thing up your nose and they blow like this powder up there, and it's meant to cleanse you. And like you take it, like if you've seen the videos, as soon as it hits you, like you want to throw up. Like they've got a bucket right in front of you, and they all cheer you like ahoo, and they'll like do it. I'm like, me and my mate went and did it, and they're like, oh, is it your first time? I'm like, yeah, first time. I'll give you a small one, and like whacked it. I was about to cry. I like started. And it's like you got to do the other nose. And whacks up there, hits me. My whole body starts shaking. I throw up in the bucket. I lay down. I missed the full round of ayahuasca because I'm like shaking and like trying to. And my mate's looking at me. He told me after, he was like, bro, I thought you were gonna die. It's like I was trying to have my medicine, but I was looking at you. And then
that would have been a weird trip for him.
This was not a great time. And then I went and had one round of the medicine. Nothing happened. I took it and I sat there. I'm like, am I meant to like, because I'd done mushrooms many times by that point. I'm like, am I meant to see anything? Is anything meant to come up? I'm like, I've just spent like a whole day here to get smashed by some powder up the nose, have a freak out. And so for me.
I think of it as medicine, like literal medicine. So like if you have a really bad headache or a migraine, you take some Panadol. Yeah. If you have constant like psyche pain or soul level pain, and you just don't know what to do with it. You take the medicine and I think it will show you what you need to heal. But I think that people are overusing it, to be honest. And they're using it and then they're coming back into the same subconscious beliefs, the same identity, the same life. And they're like, it didn't work for me. And it's like, yeah, because you saw your highest self and you astral traveled and you like did all of this crazy shit. And that can alter you in a way. But if you've got all this other shit down here, you will end up back where you started. So I feel like unless you're using it in the correct way, in that it's bringing everything up to the surface that you then go and actually correctly process, is pointless. And people get not addicted to it in the way, because it's not addictive, but they do use it to like constantly try and bring things up. And for me, it's like, live your best life until something's knocking on your door and then shift it. I'm sick of looking for shit to work on.
Well, a couple of things that just came up then. Firstly, tools. We said before we started recording, people that I've seen, they get stuck where they started. They start the breath work, change their life. Now breath work's the cure to everything. They do some ayahuasca, change their life. Now they're doing it every fucking weekend. It's like they have only experienced, for me, like one of the many tools out there to help for the many different reasons. What's been your experience from seeing people do it, seeing coaches do it? We're talking about the depth before as well, where people, it's like they're kind of like you're holding a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So you got a trigger, let's do some breath work. You got some trauma, let's do some ayahuasca. It's like, well, what if it's mental? What if it's a perception? What if it's suppressed emotions? It's like, it's right till right time, get the right result.
100%.
What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think like people they get fixed on one thing as the solution for everything. And it's been one of the hardest things, is that I feel like over the last 15 years, I have sort of uncovered something that almost does feel like the solution to everything, because we adapt and we move and we go, what tool do you need right now? And then when you say that, everyone's like, it's just another breath work. It's just another, and they're like, no, I've actually for me, it's quite frustrating. And I think there's a lot of people who they want to live in that place. So there's a part of them that's just, they feel this like elated, just like connected to everything feeling, and they don't realize, they think that they need the medicine for that, and they don't realize that actually the goal is that the medicine shows you that is a potential state. If you do the deeper work, you can live there, and that's always been my goal. Like Aruka literally means paradise within.
Oh,
so
I didn't know that.
Yeah, ancient Egyptian Aru was like their place of worship, like a place, their paradise.
Can you say that again? That just sounded so beautiful.
Yeah. So Aruka means paradise within. So Aru means paradise, and Ka means soul, so within. So for me, that's always been the goal, paradise within myself, not with any substances, not with anything else. Like, how do I get to the point where paradise is within me, where it doesn't matter where I'm living, what I'm doing, who I'm with, it's in me. That's the goal for me. And I think people have a taste of that with the plant medicines, and they have a taste of that with the breath works once they've worked through the emotions. I've had really beautiful breath works where I've like left my body and just floated around, and it was great. But it's like, how do we bring that into everyday life? And something that I always talk about with my clients is like, you use that to see what the soul wants, but then you have to bring what the soul wants into the body, and the human's going to reject it, and the human's going to go, no, we can't have that. That's not possible for us. I'm not worthy, blah, blah, blah. Then we remove all of those obstacles and we move a bit closer to it. And then the soul shows us the next desire. And so it's basically reprogramming the human being, the subconscious mind, the nervous system, everything with the desires of the soul.
Yeah. I've got so much on that. Oh my God. That was so good. So aligned, like so aligned. Some things that came up then is we're born limitless, but we're programmed out of it. So for me, we are born as divine, spiritual, whole, perfect, complete souls, organisms, call it what you want. But then we go through trauma, we go through pain, we pick up conditioning, the life happens, and then we fragment parts of who we are. We perceive ourselves to be incomplete. And I picture a straitjacket. So it's like you're born limitless, but then over time you just slowly put on all these layers of a straitjacket that then stops and limits the fullness of who you are. I think Peter Crone says it really well. We're being the best versions of our limited self.
For sure.
So good. And then it's like, okay, how do we then undo that straitjacket? Yeah. And that's where do you have resistance? Where do you get triggered? What's the thoughts that are limiting you? Yes. And maybe you can't find it. Go do some medicine maybe to be aware of it. But if you don't fucking address it and keep doing the ayahuasca, you're not actually removing the straitjacket.
Yeah.
You're kind of like transcendentally stepping out of it for a moment, and you maybe experience a bit of oneness, wholeness. Oh my God. side tangent. Are you into Avatar, like the blue people Avatar?
I love Avatar.
Are you a
I literally went on a walk yesterday up through Burleigh and saw like all these tree roots, and I was like, I just wish I could connect my hair to these
100%.
tree roots.
Did you watch the new one that just came out?
I haven't seen it yet. No, we were going to go to the movies, but we haven't got there yet.
They have Awa in there, like they show Awa, and I just think their representation of spirituality, oneness, wholeness, Awa, it's so perfect. It's like we're not a drop in the ocean, we're the ocean in a drop.
Yes.
It's like we come from this oneness, completeness field, but then our meat suit and our ego, our identity thinks we have limitations because of dad, mum, childhood, conditioning, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's how do we then find those blind spots? And we do that through triggers. Well, in my world anyways, where do you get triggered? Where do you have resistance? That quote I mentioned before. And then let's zoom in and use the right tool to dissolve the resistance, undo your straitjacket, and you come back to who you truly are.
Yes.
What's your take on that? Because
Yes.
I feel like we're super aligned with this.
One, I fucking love Avatar. And I didn't shut up the whole time. I'm like, that's like energy, and they're doing this, and this
100%.
is what, like, I was like connecting all the dots in my mind. I'm like,
My wife was
this
crying.
is brilliant.
My wife was just crying watching it. She's like, this is so beautiful. I love this. It's so aligned with how we view spirituality in life. But
For me, what I thought of as you were saying that was unconditional, like love.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds like to some people just a little bit like, oh, everything is love. But honestly, every single client that I've worked with, every single block that keeps us in the straitjacket is, am I not going to be loved and end up alone?
Yeah.
Literally. And that could be, that's biological. That's, we survive in packs, all of the, everyone's heard all of that. But I also just think like that is our true nature. That is the higher vibrational frequency is like they are pure love. They are, pure consciousness is love. And so I think that's why people say, like, people who die and come back to life, they say all they felt was pure unconditional love, like an overwhelming love that they'd never experienced. That's because that's true form. We come in and the limitations in the straitjacket is everything that's not love. So every single client that I work with, it's like, and what would be the worst thing that could happen if we let go of that belief?
Yeah.
Everyone will hate me. No one will like me. I'll lose my job, and then I'll be a failure, and then my parents won't be proud of me, and then they won't love me. It's always just coming back to people aren't going to like me, love me, accept me, and I'm just going to end up alone. It always goes there. That's the base of everything. And so I always think like that's what we're trying to get in those places. We've got the feeling of openness and expansiveness. It's unconditional love. Yeah. It's a love. And so the straitjacket is everything that we think we need to be in order to be loved.
Yes.
And literally like, that's where it all comes back to. And so
if you're someone who's wanting to grow and take your life to a whole new level, I'd love to be of service. I offer a free 7-day experience of my coaching that you can try absolutely free, and you only stick around if it's a no-brainer. You'll also get a one-on-one call with me. The link is down below. Grab it and back to the conversation.
Every fear that comes up, every block, every limitation, it's always coming back down to somebody else, what they're going to think, what they're going to feel, if they're going to accept us, it's not about us.
Yeah.
It's always about receiving that love. And I think as well, one of those things with plant medicines and with a lot of modalities is that you can tap into that feeling yourself, and you realize that you can do that, but then it fades away.
Yes.
And so and like you said, you come from the higher place back down into the human, and the human's got the ego with all these constraints, and it's like, I feel shit again because that we haven't worked through all those layers to get to that place of love.
Yeah. This is so good. I've got a potentially personal question.
Yeah.
You're pretty open, so I think you'd be sweet with that. But
Because it's not about my ex-husband. I'll get punished for that.
next podcast. So for me, something I stand a lot against is labels and the concept of like labels become limitations. So as an
100%.
example, you are a narcissist. For me, you have Asperger's, you have ADHD, you have anxiety, and it's like, I don't have the answer to this question. That's why I want to hear your thoughts on it. How do you find the sweet spot of describing someone without limiting someone? Because one of the questions I got for you, because it was in some of the research I did, was like the word personality disorders. And you even mentioned it when you said it. For me, my belief anyways, is we have the human, the identity, which is beliefs, perceptions, trauma, nervous system, emotional blocks. That creates conditioning or behaviors. How it's like a computer has conditioning, the computer would act in alignment with the conditioning.
100%.
And then we have triggers. Something mirrors the conditioning or the trauma, and then it triggers you into the pattern.
Yes.
Nothing triggers you, reveals what's inside of you. How do you find that? Because you've got like,
Yeah.
I have a father who my mum and sister to this day call him a narcissist. And they would, if you had the sort of Google definition, he would be a narcissist.
Yeah.
But I don't see him as that. I see the other sides to him. I see the gift he's given me. I wouldn't be the healer I am if he didn't hurt me the way that he hurt me.
100%.
So from your lived experience and from the work that you do, how do you find that balance between describing someone without labeling them and therefore limiting them? Because the label limits the person and the person labeling them too. Because then they
100%.
repeat their fucking trauma over and over again and they run into their own problems again. It's your shadow works coming out.
Yeah.
That was a big question. What's your take on
I
that?
literally have a unit in my certification called undiagnosis. And so it's all about
love this.
undiagnosing people.
Love it.
And so I say to people, they are productive to a certain point.
Yep.
So when you
Like it.
find out that everything that you've been experiencing falls into a nice, neat category, and there's a lot of other people who experience it, there is a feeling of acceptance and validation.
Yeah.
But we get to a point where it's like, I'm validating that you have
problem.
had that cluster of symptoms,
Yeah.
but you can't use it.
Yeah.
And so when we move into like validating that that's what it was, but you can't actually use that as an excuse to continue to suffer,
Yes.
but also like, how do we move forward? And one of the ways that we move forward is if someone comes to me and says, I have like complex trauma, CPTSD, DID, I'm on the spectrum, I've got ADHD, I've got this, I've got that.
Label. Yeah.
I'm like, all right, well, one of the first things that we need to do is break down the fact that that they've got all of those labels and how is it benefiting them?
Yeah.
Because it benefits them by the fact that they feel important or special or that they fit into a category or group of people.
Yeah.
And I often say to them, do you want to fit into that category of people or
Great
do you want to
question.
heal?
Great question.
And do you want to fit into the new category of people who are thriving and living their best life? And so a lot of them are like, oh, actually, yep, I want to move into the other category. So I literally use subconscious belief work to undiagnose them. So I would get them to remove the belief of I have this, I have that. And we literally remove them.
Yeah.
And then we create new definitions of like my brain, my brain functions perfectly or my, how I am is the result of the way that I've been treated. Like no diagnosis. Like when people say to me, and I just got anxiety out of nowhere, I'm like,
I had an onboarding call. This is perfect. I think yesterday or maybe the day before. I think it was yesterday. Jumped on, beautiful lady. She was from UK or something. She was like, hey, Lewis, I have PTSD. I have anxiety, blah, and like all the thing. And I said, thank you. Write down my notes. I'm like, hey, look, are you okay if I reflect something back to you? She's like, yep. So instead of saying I have anxiety, it says I feel anxious sometimes.
yeah, I'm currently experiencing is what I say. Yep.
Fantastic. And then for me, PTSD, for me, it's knock off the D and it's PTS. It's post-trauma symptoms. Again, conditioning, patterns. And then they'll trigger you into the pattern. Because the D, the disorder, saying I have a disorder, reticular activating system, you're going to find evidence to reaffirm it. You biochemically release the chemicals aligned with the thought and the belief, Joe Dispenza 101. And it's like it's the label's a limitation. So it's like one of my biggest missions is labels and shattering people's labels. So
and labels make it feel permanent for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so there's like this, and even just not even on a like personality disorder, like mental health labels respect. I have people coming in saying, I've always been shy. Well, who told you that you've always been shy? Because you're telling me that you want to like get up and speak on stages in front of people, but your biggest limitation is that you're shy. Who told you that you were shy? And like, how long have you believed that for? And what would happen if you didn't believe it? And if your parents always told you that that's who you are, if you broke out of that, do you think they'd still love you? Coming back to the love. And so I feel like it's always they're wanting some sort of form of validation with the labels, or they're wanting some form of acceptance, some place to fit because they feel like they don't fit in. And when you actually break that down, sometimes there can be a lot of resistance when you remove the labels because they're like, oh, who am I going to be now? Yeah. And I always say to people, the best place to be is not knowing who the fuck you are because you get to create who you want to be. So if you've got like an empty slate of like, I have no idea who I am, it's like, well, who do you want to be? Let's build you like a Lego from the ground up. Like, let's literally put it together because people don't realize, and it sounds crazy when you think about it like that, but I could do a session with somebody and tell them tomorrow that they're a cat. Yeah. Like literally, it could be, I mean, there's some limitations, but there's that much power in the subconscious mind that they could start meowing tomorrow. Like literally, you can, whatever you want to program into the subconscious to a degree, that was probably a stupid example, but like to a degree, they're going to start to experience and see and feel. And so everything that you believe about yourself, it's worth looking at. Where did that come from and why do I believe that? And let's let go of that so that we don't have to keep showing up as that version of ourselves. And like I said, being an empty slate is a great place to be because you can start to build it up. And no one's ever an empty slate. Those people that say, I don't know who I am, you're like, okay, who do you want to be? All right, powerful. You want to be free. You want to be this. Oh, but I'm not because this happened and that happened and da, 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 da. And there's their identity actually.
How do you, if you're okay answering this question, how do you apply that to your dad?
Oh, that's a great question. I forgive my dad. I feel sorry for my dad. I still have empathy for him. I feel, because I know his dad's history. Like my grandfather was parents killed in the Holocaust, on the run from 17, part of the Hungarian Revolution, came to Australia to flee, or came from Holland actually to flee. He had raped a young girl, caught up with him in Australia. He went to jail. My dad went into an orphanage. He was a horrible dad. My dad's real mum died in a car accident. He was in the car when he was 4, like so much trauma. Yeah. And my dad was in moments, in very brief moments, I only have a few, but there were brief moments where I saw his like soul. And there was a moment actually later on in my 20s where he said to me one day, like, I'm so sorry for everything that I did to you. And I was so uncomfortable at that time. I'm like, oh, no, I don't know what you're talking about. It's fun to talk about. Yeah. But I see just a man who could have done so much better and didn't. And it's almost sad that I don't have him in my life because I wish he could have been that dad, but he's not, and he's dangerous and he chose a different path. And so it's this weird, like sometimes I'll have empathy and feel sorry for him. There's no anger. There's no resentment. There's no like, I guess I chose this life. I chose him. I chose this path. I wish he could have like stepped up. And honestly, like people don't realize that how deep that love can go. Like if he had have said to me when I said to him, I'm cutting you out of my life because of everything you've done. If he had have said, I'm really sorry and I'm going to go and work on myself and I'm going to heal it, I would have kept him in my life. I would have forgiven him and kept him around, not around my kids, but I would have had dinner with him a couple of times a year or something and just kept that connection because I do forgive him. But for me, there's like I always say there's forgiveness and acceptance, and I think I've got both. Yeah. But sometimes it's like I accept that he is the way he is, and because of that, I won't have him in my life anymore. Yeah. But I'm not hating him. I'm not like, so many people write on social media, write his name, tell us where he lives. Like, why don't you expose him? Why don't you say his name? Why don't you? And I'm like, because I don't want harm to him. Yeah. He can live his life and he's already probably got enough pain. Like, I know that it would hurt him to know what he's done to his kids. And I'm not the only one. Like, when I came forward, my cousin called me and she said, your dad raped me when I was 9. She's had like paralysis and been in and out of hospital. Like it's ruined her life. Yeah. And he has done a lot of bad things to a lot of other people. But yeah, I think that he has to live with that. Yeah. And I think that's an awful way to live. So
you mentioned you saw his soul.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
There was moments where he was fun and free and he was loving. And he was, I guess, a normal person, but but I saw a different version of him. That was honestly the hardest thing to heal of everything, apart from the really traumatic sort of the torture memory. Yeah. The hardest thing to sort of come to terms with, it probably took 4 solid months, was I had this like good dad and bad dad. And I felt like good dad was dying and I grieved him. Like I had a diagnosed with Stockholm syndrome because I was like,
which is what? Sorry, just
like I had it. It's where people fall in love with their kidnappers. So I had like an excessive love for him, like a romantic love, which sounds so wrong to say out loud, but that was conditioned. But I had like this, like I would, like when you go through a breakup and you hear a song that reminds you of them, and I was like really grieving him. And the hardest thing was to realize that actually good dad, I only had a few moments or memories where I really saw him and he was kind and loving and the rest was bad. And I sort of played them in a highlight reel in my head for my whole life, just focus on the good, focus on the good. And so I had to come to terms with the fact that he wasn't who I had like pretended he was in my mind and cutting him out of my life. And he's quite a dangerous man too. Yeah. So there was like a lot of fear around I had a nervous breakdown, or I started hearing his voice and thinking he was coming to get me and running in the supermarket because I thought he was behind me and I could hear his voice in my ears. It was very real. auditory hallucinations, really. We're not going to call it psychosis, but they were auditory hallucinations. And so I got to the point where I was so convinced he was going to come and kill me because he'd told me for my whole life that that's what he'd do, that when I first spoke out, it spiraled me down. But I was in this like, he's going to kill me. Every car that drove past my house, I would have a panic attack. And then I miss him. I love him. I wish I could go and see him. He's going to come and kill me. I wish I could see him. And it was just this like fucking battle for months. And that was like really difficult time to like sort of get through or navigate.
Yeah. If you were to speak to his soul, what would you say?
Oh, I'd say to him, I'm sorry that you like that he had this life. I'm sorry that he chose this path, but he couldn't make it out. And I would say thank you as well. It's like emotional. I'd say thank you for like bringing me through him because without him, I wouldn't be here in this world. Yeah. And without everything that he did, I wouldn't have discovered what I've discovered about healing. And I've helped thousands of women with the unimaginable. Yes. So I have all the women come to me that say, I've had similar history to you and I'm not in a good place and I can get them out of that because I know how to do it. So he gave me a gift and so I would say thank you.
Wow. Oh, there's a couple, about sort of 5-6 minutes left and there's a couple big rabbit holes
okay.
I want to go into.
We can do them rapid fire.
Yeah, we'll try our best. We had a post that we both made on social media recently.
Yes.
So I want to talk about this. And for me, because who was it? It came up for me because Tony Robbins, where I started, so I've got a lot of love for Tony. And do I think Tony Robbins is the deepest mentor on the planet? I don't think he is. I think he does a lot of belief work and emotional change work. Fantastic. I don't think he does like the somatic stuff, the perception stuff, the energetic stuff. I don't see him as that. But I just had this person like ripping and tearing him down. And I'm like, dude, he's impacted hundreds of millions, billions of people, including his charity work. And it's like, he's got no certifications. Blah, blah, blah. And then I had someone message me and say, what are your certifications? Who are you to help someone with trauma? It's like, send them to me. I said, what are you looking for? What certifications are you looking for? She's like, official things. I'm like, Tony changed my life and he's got no certifications. I've done DeMartini, who's my favorite mentor. He's a chiropractor, but he helps with trauma and all this stuff. And obviously you responded to it and then you made a similar post as well because I see the work you do as more holistically changing people's lives in way deeper ways that most people who are certified do so.
Yeah.
So what's your take on certification versus embodiment of the work?
Yeah, I get why people want it. Yeah. I get why people like see that and the way that we've been conditioned like in society as a whole to know that that's superior and to know that that's the place that you go. Yeah. I guess mental health is worse than it's ever been. So that structure's not working is my first point. Yeah. But I went to study psychology. I almost finished my diploma of counselling, but it was so fucking boring that I just could not finish it.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I went to study psychology and I had signed up. I did the first semester and then I was like, I'm just going to ask the lady some questions. And I called her and I was like, currently, I already work with clients. I already worked with hundreds of people. And I was like, I do this, this, and this. And she's like, oh, you can't do that. You won't be able to do that as a psychologist. Like if you're wanting to be a registered psychologist, you can't use those modalities.
I haven't heard this before. Yeah. So you can only use what we've allowed you to use.
What's approved, yeah. What's approved.
Stupid.
If you want to be registered and be able to give people rebates and things, yes. And so the second thing was that trauma wasn't actually taught in the psychology degree. It's like not even in the curriculum, especially complex trauma. They don't teach it. They don't learn about it. It's extra studies that you need to do. Yeah. And I was just like, I'm not going to spend – at that point, I was already getting incredible results. And I was like, I'm not going to spend $60K and I'd have to do it part-time because of my kids and, 10 years, however long it's probably going to actually take me to do it well when I already know how to heal people. Yeah. I already get the results. And so for me – I had to really look at like, why would I be doing this? And it would only be for a piece of paper and for credibility for the small percentage of people
who actually care about it.
Yeah. And when I did that post, there was some hates, a lot of love. Yeah. And there was a lot of people that were like, I went to psychologists for 10 years and, and you've changed my life more than I had a client. I had this lady come into me one day and she was this older lady. She was maybe like in her 70s. Yeah. And she came in and she said, I'm not a client, but I am a client. And I was like, okay.
It's a weird way to start the conversation.
Yeah. She sat down, it was in person, and she was like, I have this lady and you've seen her. And she said, I can't tell you what her name is, but she said, I have this lady and she's been my client for 10 years. She has a lot of trauma. She came to you for one session and last week she came in and I I was like, what the hell have you done?
Yeah.
And she said that she came and saw you and she told me what you did and I need to see what you do. So can you do it to me?
Interesting.
And she had been a psychologist for her whole life. Wow. She'd been in since her 30s, like 40 years. And she laid down and she was like, can you explain to me what that is? And I tried to explain it in a nutshell. And she's like, how did I not know any of this? She was blown away. And I think to me, that's the perfect example of like, I've been studying, like I said, for 15 years obsessively. The amount of hours would far surpass a psychology degree, but it's just not the route that I want to take. It's not what I was meant to do. Yeah. And it's not for everyone. And I always say to people, if you have been seeing a psychologist for, 5-10 years and you're still feeling like it's not moving, all you have to do is try one session. That's the power of this work. I don't fuck around. If someone comes to me and they're like, I've got all these problems, I'm like, all right, you can stop talking about that now. Well, I'm going to show you how it actually works in session 1. I don't need to get to know you. Yeah. We're going to fix what's the biggest struggle you've got right now in your life so it's measurable. All right, let's get to the root cause of that. Boom. Let's shift that. And I'm going to show you through example and evidence. And so I'm that confident in it. And I say to the haters on the thing, just try it. Just do one session. I dare you.
Wow. With the 2 minutes we have left.
Oh, no.
What do you stand for and what do you stand against? It might be similar to what you just said. But
yeah, I stand for like deeper work, deeper actually getting to those deeper layers and against anything that's surface level, anything that's like, and I guess the surface level stuff is good for the top ups.
Yeah.
It's good for the people who maybe don't have a lot of trauma or, I was saying the other day, like, if I have just had a bad week, I've had like some, shitty comments on social media, just had a shitty week and picked up lots of negative energies, I'll go to breath work and breathe and release that current energy and just like, go vibrate a little bit higher. The deeper work has to be done though. Like you have to go deeper. So a lot of those things they're top ups. They're not the deeper work. And be brave. Yeah. It's brave. Like not everyone's doing it because it's hard. Yeah. Hard to face yourself. It's hard to do that work. So I like clap and condone anyone that actually does it because it is really brave to like go in.
If you had 60 seconds, which we have, to leave your final message to the world, what would it be?
It would be be brave. It would be brave. I think you're never going to regret it. If you do it right, you're never going to regret it. And that's where finding the right thing is important, but you're never going to regret actually going deeper and keep hope. Like the hope is so important. As soon as you lose hope, everything just crumbles from there. Like keep trying things. Like what's the alternative? I said this to someone in my DMs the other day. She's like, she's been wanting to try Aruka for 3 years. She's tried everything else. And she's like, I just don't know if it's going to work. And I'm like, well, what other option have you got? It's been 3 years. Yeah. Like just give it a try and just keep that hope alive. Like just keep going because you will get there with that attitude.
I love it. This has been amazing. I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the conversation.
We could talk for like 3 hours, I'm pretty sure.
I see us as very along the same mission. And I think we're going to stay hopefully connected for a very, very long time.
Absolutely.
Decades to come.
Absolutely.
If someone wants to dive into your work, connect with you, potentially get trained in the work, potentially try the work themselves, or just connect with you because you're a fucking legend, where can they find you?
Everything's on my website, jessicaella.com.au. Like they can find my podcast where I just talk shit. The certifications on there, working. I don't really work that much one-on-one with people anymore. I have people that I've trained and I have a clinic. So my top 4 therapists out of everyone in this clinic, they see all my clients. And I've got like trauma programs that help guide people through like the exact process I've gone through.
Love it.
So yeah, all on my website and Instagram. I am Jessica Ella.
Everything's down below, by the way, for the guys listening. Jess, has been amazing. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.